Gonna swim, bike and run in the Kona sun. We're gonna swim, bike and run in the Kona sun. Breakfast with Bob.
Poncho, man, welcome to Breakfast with Bob. My name is Bob Babbitt. We are brought to you by EAS Sports Nutrition, Hoka One One, Polar, Oscar Wellness, Velo Fix, Four Seasons Hualalai, and we are airing on triathlonworld.com. Our next guest, what has he not won? Olympic gold medal, Ironman 70.3 World Championships, Ironman Frankfurt, Ironman Kona last year, broke the world record at the iron distance at Challenge Roth, Mr. Jan Frodeno. You, and also a daddy.
Yeah, that's the big one.
That is the big one. That is the big one.
Keeps me the most busy anyways.
So you win the gold medal and you win Ironman World Championship. What had the bigger impact on your life?
Well, this is a bizarre one because as an athlete, you know, I value and cherish the Olympics, but I would say that Kona had the bigger impact.
It did, didn't it?
Just the reception around it, the people, the recognition of our sport on this island is just massive.
So before we get to the Kona stuff, taking back to that Olympic gold, because that was a classic race, right? You had Mr. Whitfield made a move with a few hundred yards left, and all of a sudden, and it was a pretty classic move, right? He figures, hey, if nobody goes, I might steal myself a gold medal.
Yeah, tosses his hat, and you know, he was gone already.
Yes.
And then threw his hat to the side, just typical Rocky movie style, and starts sprinting from way out and way out. It was a good day.
And you caught him how far from the line?
I'm not too sure how far it was, but it still felt like a long way to go after that.
And did that surprise you to win that gold? Because obviously everybody was thinking Javier Gomez. There was a lot of other talk, but I don't think that you were the guy people thought was going to win the gold.
Yeah, that's the thing about mental training and mental things. You know, whether you think you can do something or you can't, you're probably right. And I did believe that I could do it. I trained for it and I visualized it about 100,000 times. And it was more surreal after the event than during the event. You know, afterwards I was like, oh, is this now, am I still dreaming? Am I still thinking about this? Or no, it's actually happened. So that took me a long time to grasp.
So before we get too far along, we have these cool Frodeno hats and the Burning for Kona backpack. And during this week, we on Instagram, on our Babbittville Instagram, we will be posting photos and be giving away 10 sets of hats and backpacks. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool.
You haven't seen them before?
No, honestly, I haven't. I walked on here and
this will be $20. You give me $20, you get yourself a hat.
Yeah, nice trucker hat, but vintage. I might run with that on race day.
So I remember talking to you about that 2008 race, and every workout you did finished with a sprint, correct? When you were running, because you were pretty much planning that the race might come down to that.
Yeah, and I'd lost every single race, you know, in about a year leading up to it in a sprint as well.
You had.
So I knew my sprint was pretty terrible, and it just became a thing between our coach and I.
Right.
We always said, whatever workout it is, no matter how easy, how hard it is, we're going to finish it off with a sprint.
So talk a little bit about that transition from your Olympic gold, and then you go through the 2012, right, Olympics, and then making that move to, people thought, oh, you step up from the Olympic to 70.3 in Ironman. It's huge. I mean, the distance is, you know, you're talking double the distance for just the 70.3 and quadruple the distance for the Ironman. How daunting was that? It's not like you were 25 years old at the time.
Yeah, to be honest, it wasn't that daunting at all because I'd lost my passion for the Olympic distance.
At that point?
At that point, I was a little bit, just a little bit done with it all. You know, I didn't really have a passion for it. I didn't love it anymore, and therefore I wanted to try something new.
Yes.
And when 2011 sponsor flew me out here, even though I couldn't ever imagine doing something like Ironman, I instantly fell in love with it. And I was like, wow, I got to do this. This is really as unique as everybody says it is. And I think you have to come to the island to experience it. But that being said, you know, 2012, the Olympics was still on my agenda.
Right.
I got injured about 6 months out and started running 6 weeks before the games only. So that obviously wasn't an ideal lead up. And then after that, tried 70.3 European champs.
The Wiesbaden.
Wiesbaden, yeah,
and
as the first one.
You got second.
Yeah, got second. I lost about 3 minutes in transition, losing my shoes. Couldn't find them.
From ITU, it's all about a transition.
Yeah, it is. But you don't run into this park with 2,500 bags hanging there, all of them numbered, and mine wasn't hanging on the hook. So in my defense, I wasn't just being a rookie. It was actually wasn't there.
Oh, okay.
So that being said, that was a half distance, and a half distance seems a lot closer to the Olympic distance than it does to Ironman.
Yeah, you can race it. You can race it.
You have to race it, and you can get away with aerobic fitness that you get from 70.3 from Olympic distance racing. And I loved it. I absolutely enjoyed the time trialing bit of it, the dialing the bike, the technicalities of it, and just being there. So that was sort of where it started.
Your first Ironman was Frankfurt.
It was.
Yeah, 2014.
Yeah.
And you got third there, right?
Third and 3 punctures, yeah.
Yes, you had 3 flats, and pretty much that sort of summed things up for you, right?
Well, it wasn't all bad. It was.
No, you ran well.
Sort of
Everything went well.
And I got my first cramp as I jumped off the bike.
Yes.
So that was already a sign that the marathon was going to be very long. And just sort of developed on from there. I think somebody stopped it, and I stopped 22 times.
22 times.
22 times at the aid station, walking the aid stations. But in between the aid stations, I was running very fast.
You were running really fast.
Running about 3:40 pace in between, or 3:35. Just took a few too many breaks. But, so you learn and move on and get better at it with time.
And when you, then in 2015, right, you go to Frankfurt and you win. And at that point, it seemed like to be in 2014 when you came here, you had the same type of things where you had a penalty, you had a flat, I think you ran out in the wrong outfit and had to go back and change. Little things.
It's hot out there. Come on, cut me some slack.
The thinking part is that doesn't work that well at this stuff. So but what was it about that experience here? You had watched it, but racing it, what did it mean to you? What did you come away with from your first experience here?
I think my first experience was already very much shaped in the weeks leading up to Kona. So I came about 2.5 weeks out, and every single day I felt terrible. I honestly thought I forgot my legs on the plane and just suffered and struggled and couldn't really get to where I wanted to be on the bike. I couldn't hold the aero position. I couldn't hold any power. It's just exhausting. The humidity, the heat, the wind, it batters you, and that's why the Kona race is so much slower, and it also favors different athletes to the European races. So very much I knew that you have to come here at your very, very best game, prepared as well as you can be, and then pretend to race at altitude. That's how I like to think of it. You've just got an extra 10-20% that you have to give to the conditions, to humidity, to heat, your body to cool down, your heart rate's a little bit higher, your power's a little bit lower. So that's how I try to picture it and prepare for it.
So when you go home after getting that third here, and did you come away feeling like, I can win that race?
Yeah, try not to think about it too much, because as it is with penalties and athletes, you always debate them. To myself, I thought there was more in it on the day, but I also realized, that's just sports. It's there are going to be referees, there are going to be technical delegates, and you have to deal with them if you do. And the only way not to deal with them is to try and go off the front. And that's why, the year after, I try to stay near the front or at the front all of the time, so I could just stay out of trouble.
So last year, when you go into the lead, and then Andreas Rehlert is running his way through the field, were you getting a sense or getting some splits on where that guy was at? Because he was positively flying.
Yeah, he was too. I think that luckily for me, I only got the one split at the top of the energy lab.
Okay.
And that was quite a daunting one, because it was only about 40 seconds or 30 seconds even.
Yes.
And he'd come from 5 or 6 minutes behind. Yep. But luckily, I also saved pretty much all my beans for the energy lab, because I knew that's where the race could be made or lost.
Yes.
And the next time I checked again, he was back to 3.5 minutes when we came out of the energy lab, and then I knew I paced myself well. I'd done it the right way, and just needed to take it home from there.
And coming across the line and winning this race in your second time out, what did it mean to you? Because like you'd won an Olympic gold, the first person to win an Olympic gold and win Ironman gold, but more importantly, you were obviously a quick learner. Came here once, figured it out, came back the following year and won this thing.
Yeah, to be honest, those records don't really matter, especially in those moments.
Yeah.
You just realize that this is the greatest thing our sport has to offer.
Yes.
It really is an iconic finish line, and that shoot, having the last 50 meters to myself to enjoy, to take a bath in the crowd, if you will.
Yes.
And just really, really let out that scream of pure emotion was just absolutely epic to be able to celebrate afterwards with Emma. And then Luca,
Yes.
even though he wasn't quite there yet, was one of the more special moments of my life, and I very much cherish it.
So then we have iconic events in the sport. Obviously, Kona is one. Another one is Challenge Roth. And that race is known to be fast, but it's also, 50,000 people on Solar Hill and the Beer Mile, and it's iconic. There's so many different places on that course. You went there this year, and what'd you go, 7:35, something along that line? I mean, just shattered the course record and the iron distance record. When you go to a race like that, it's not so much just winning it. You were going there, I'm assuming, to try to break that world record.
Yeah, and I made that statement before the race, and that obviously resulted in quite a bit of pressure.
Yes.
Which is all right. I do well under pressure, but it was quite a lot there because there were 50,000 people on Solara Hill, maybe.
Yes.
But there were over 300,000 people on the course.
Yes.
And the build-up to it was just humongous. Like, press was on it, and people were interested. And that's sort of how you get people involved.
It's good for the sport.
That's why we even said we want to go for the world record, because it's what gets the average Joe involved. That's why people want to hear it. They can relate to something. Like world record is something unique in every sport.
Exactly.
Whether it's actually a world record or not, doesn't really matter, because every course is different and none of them are normalized and all of this. But it's the same in a marathon, I guess. If you want to break a world record, you go to Berlin. And that's what we try to do. And it was a very, very special event. Crazy busy.
Crazy.
Absolutely crazy passionate fans, and that was awesome to see.
The world of endurance sports has changed a lot, and you guys are more than just athletes. You're entertainers to a certain degree. You're social media professionals, right? The whole idea is to drive more people into the sport, to create more awareness, not just for the sport, but for yourself. Is that a part of it you enjoy? Because it seems like you really do well in the spotlight. You seem to thrive the bigger the stakes and the more attention that's on it.
Yeah, I'd spend so many hours training on my own or with a training buddy. You're in the mountains, you're in the forest.
Yes.
And nobody gives a
crap.
damn.
Yeah.
But that's where I really thrive and get the best out of myself, is when the people are watching, when there is the recognition, when the cameras are on, put it that way. And it's something that I've learned over many years, to enjoy that pressure, to use that pressure to my advantage, because it is a pretty heavy backpack. There are moments where I sit back and I'm like, oh shit, what have I done now? It's like, they're actually watching, and they're actually expecting you to do well, which is something, say after Lanzarote, where I validated to come here after injury, coming back and using it as a, training race, but
still you're running a marathon.
Yeah, you're still running a marathon. But people don't really care. People just want to see you win. People expect you to win.
So when you didn't win?
So when I didn't win, it was
a failure.
Not a failure, and a lot of people understood, but still it's, the whole perception of a second place. Already, you get one text from your mom as opposed to 250 when you're winning, So
exactly. That's true.
Back to basics.
That is really true. Yeah, the reality is this, in a small sport, it's basically win or, people don't really remember who was second place.
Yeah, absolutely. Knock, knock, who's there?
So this year, like you said, you validated at Lanzarote. You did amazing at Roth. How's the build-up been going into this race?
Yeah, because I had to change the whole season around a little bit because of my calf injury, I was hoping to validate in South Africa much earlier.
Yes.
And have a few more 70.3s, just to freshen up, just to keep the mind going as well. I love racing. I love getting out there. I love, actually having a good go at it. I spent a lot of time training this year, and I feel like that's gotten me to a new level of economy. Like
Right.
I feel like I've arrived at the Ironman distance, which is not to sound disrespectful for last year, but I just feel like I've made a big jump in terms of heart rate and power economy and all these sorts of things that matter in our sport.
Yes.
And that's where I think I'm very much looking forward to seeing how it translates on race day. But I also know that next year I'm looking forward to doing a few more races.
So next year will be more, if you're healthy, obviously more racing. Is it hard, the whole validation thing? Back in the day, it used to be, if you were Ironman champion, you never had to go and do another full Ironman. Would that be more of a preference for you if something like that was still out there? Or do you like you said, you like to race, so you don't mind doing a full sometime during the season to lead into this?
Yeah, I mean, a full has always got a big preparation going into it, no matter what. And like I was saying earlier, I can't really go somewhere and just validate. It's not in my nature, and it also does annoy me when you're getting beaten. I hate getting beaten. It's just that way. So you want to go and give it your best shot. And generally, when you do that in a race like Frankfurt or something like that, you have to be top fit. This year, I chose to do 3 iron distance races, and that's a new experience again.
Yes.
I think that's where a lot of people say, no, you can't do that many. You can't perform that often at an iron distance. I just hope to prove them wrong come Saturday.
Well, when you run a 2:39 in Roth, it shows that the speed is still there. Because that's something that can go away, right? If you start focusing on volume rather than on intensity, and that's an easy trap to fall into. 5K and 10K guys moving up the marathon, all of a sudden, they start replacing quality with quantity, and they go backwards.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's where I see the danger for a lot of self-coach guys.
Yes.
Which still seems very common in our sport and very surprising to me. I just think you can't really get to that level and have that sort of objectivity when you're tired. Because it's very hard to know, are you tired because you're on or over the limit, or you're just tired because you should be from the last session. So I have a great coach. I'd say he's a great scientist who analyzes data very, very well and reads me very, very well. And therefore, there's never a lack of intensity in our training group.
So there's a number of folks out there who've won this race once, but there's something about people who've won it multiple times that sort of puts them in a little different category. What would it mean to you to win this race 2 times and 2 times in a row?
Well, I can hopefully tell you on Saturday, but it's something that's, I take one race at a time.
Yes.
Records are something that are amazing to have, but really it's something for the spectator, for the fan, for the enthusiast to thrive on, stats kind of thing. For me, it's another world championship. I give a world championship my everything, and I'm really looking forward to doing that on Saturday and hoping for a good result with that.
Love it. Jan, thanks so much for always being so gracious with your time. Always appreciate chatting with you.
Thanks, Bob.
All right, Jan Frodeno, everyone. Bringing in our man, Poncho Man.
We're gonna swim back and run in the Kona sun. We're gonna swim back and run in the Kona sun. Breakfast with Bob and 2015 World Championship winner, brother. Yo.
Poncho Man.